So in the chat, there's quite a number of observations about, there are from many of these projects useful and interesting tools that are generated, and then what happens to them after the end of a project. Alexia has provided a link to a site noting that all tools that are produced by Horizon 2020 multi-actor projects are kind of collected together. So thank you, Alexia, for that. And then, as you will see in the chat, quite a number of comments about how do we begin to link these with or complement or partner with. So as I say, I think you began to answer that question that was emerging in the chat of how do we make these things continue to be live and useful afterwards. So we have a few minutes here. I don't know whether either of you want to reflect here in plenary on the how do we keep these things live, and if you want to say anything more about that. Certainly there is the session this afternoon where hopefully there will be an opportunity for further discussion and development for maybe looking for some of those links and complements with other projects.
Maybe I would just comment on this. So many thanks to Alexia and Alexander for their comments. I think building bridges between projects and new research and also networking projects is really a key to make these project results sustainable and available on the long run, and to create such information hubs where all the project results are coming together. So I think in this sense, AIP Agri is an important hub already where the multi-actor project results can be found. But also if we think about just very thematic network hubs, we believe that the UNISECO Agro-ecological Knowledge Hub can be also a thematic hub for new to welcome new results and new networks. And I think Janne also touched upon welcoming new stories from farmers on how they do agroecology.
Mm-hmm. Janne, did you want to add something to this? Yeah. Please.
Yeah. As we heard from this morning, there are a lot of agroecological things going on in Europe, and I see the first thing is to just have the results and the outputs collected in something that gives some interactive features, and of course we propose one way of doing it in UNISECO, and I would welcome all the interested people in contacting me and talking about it, and we can already get started in the next session.
Yeah, so I think that's already beginning to start in the chat. There's a lot of possible synergies being proposed, which is just fantastic. There is, I think, a question here from Erica. Two questions. I'm going to pull out one of them. So she asks kind of what other cases or pathways, kind of non-agroecological ecology approaches, did you find in the story mapping? The story mapping process that might be considered as possibilities in the process of transforming agriculture. So whether there were any in the story mapping, whether there were any kind of other threads that might be relevant to thinking about transitions in agriculture. There we are. End of the day, mouth not working.
I think the farmers should be even more involved in the process of creating them than they were in the UNISECO project. I know it takes time and effort from a research project perspective to spend that much time in the farmers, but we really truly want to use this as a kind of effective way of communication. We still need to spend even more time with the farming community, so that the stories that we develop with the farmers truly are coming from the farmers' mouth and not words put by researchers. I think that's important, and of course the technical assistance in that kind of case we can give, but of course there is the problem of all this being organized as projects. So one project ends and then the people can disappear to do something else. So that's why we were thinking in UNISECO that it's important that we could involve actors like WWF in this process to see if that would somehow keep the solutions that we thought of alive after the project.
The other question that's emerging is, do we have a particular audience for the SESSIT tool? Oh.
Yes, I was muted. So we do indeed have audience in mind. So for the stories that were created with the farmers, the main target audience is the farming community. Also, they can be stories for communicating to consumers, but my vision in building that was to rather try to talk to farmers and not primarily as consumers. There are other ways of then still making this message more specific to consumers than what I perceived as the kind of main driver for these stories. Hopefully I answered it even somehow.
Yeah, thank you. I'm mindful of time, so I think Katalin, Janne, if either of you have anything that you want to kind of add in, great. Otherwise, I think maybe we bring this to a close, particularly given that there is a session in the afternoon.